Libra, this is your tarot reading for the month of March. Just quickly looking at it, it looks somewhat tumultuous, but also there's indications that this is a deeply psychological reading, as of most people's been in March. I also get the impression, well, a very strong impression, that whatever problems you will face in March are very necessary and that you'll emerge from it much better. Look at that central card, the Hierophant. Could that be you turning to formal religion for answers? Certainly tried and tested ways, looking to authority for an explanation of all that's going on. Certainly in the past, I would suggest that you had, or at least felt you had a very good grip of what was going on, a good understanding of things. So why now do you feel you don't? Is it world events? I mean, it certainly feels like that. It could be entirely personal to you. More likely the interplay of the two. And now, you know, you're brave, you're bold, but maybe a bit prone to jump into conclusions. I think we all are. I think the truth is there's so much misinformation out there that we all are prone to jump into conclusions, jumping on sea theories, when, you know, there's probably a grain of truth in most of them, but they take them far too far, which always leads me to believe that the origin of these theories is with the powerful. You know, it's not something that the underprivileged and disempowered come up with. They might believe in them. The future energy, it is future, isn't it? Yeah, the future energy is that of justice. I strongly suspect this is justice in your favour. I can't see any reason for justice coming against you. Maybe there is, I don't know. But I think it's in your favour. Now, as I say, it could be seen as something of a tumultuous month because we have a tower here, and the tower leads to the outcome. The tower means that there was something that, well, you built your house on less than solid foundations. I'm wondering, because we've got so much here about information and knowledge, I wonder if it's you changing your views quite radically on something, and that this change needs to occur in order for you to understand far more. And is it related to that justice card? I can't help but feel that it is. What would change things? And, you know, it's deeply psychological, this reading. It's not fortune telling. It's talking about energies impacting on your psychology. What would change it is you embracing the divine feminine. I think we'll talk more about that later, but it does suggest to me that you can steer a very good path throughout March. And the outcome is an outcome of multiple blessings, probably material blessings, but maybe by yourself. Is this a love reading? Quite a few readings have looked like they're love readings and turned out to be more about beliefs, but I really don't know. Maybe this change in your beliefs leaves you feeling somewhat isolated, possibly, but you're going to get multiple blessings. Is this new knowledge part of the multiple blessings? Well, it looks very interesting, Libra. Stay with me as we try and work it out. Now, whatever's going on in the month of March for you, Libra, you're seeking advice or seeking guidance from a higher authority. It's most likely religious authority, religion. It could be spirituality. It doesn't have to be either religion or spirituality, but it's a sort of tried and tested way of seeing things, and you're looking for that. So it suggests to me that you're concerned about something, probably something psychological or intellectual, and you're seeking answers to it. And this runs throughout the entire reading. Now, of course, we're in very strange times at the moment, so I can completely understand it, which does lead me to believe that this is about world events. But, you know, maybe it's personal, maybe it's the interaction of the two. But yeah, it runs throughout it, and I need to be mindful of that. Now, that you're seeking this sort of guidance is, I think, a dramatic shift from how you've been in the past. In the past, you were something of a wise person, both from your knowledge but also from your experience, the sort of person that people would come to for advice, and now you're seeking advice. So, what has changed fundamentally in your life to go from somebody who's seen as authority to somebody now looking to authority for advice? So that's why I think it's about world events. I don't think you can explain what's going on in the world, and that your model for how to explain it no longer seems to fit. And forgive me, but that very much reflects my own feelings. With the health crisis, everything I held dear, everything I believed in, was destroyed. Willfully destroyed, I might add. And I feel like everything I've believed in, my entire life, has been a sham, something of manipulation. And at the age of 65, I'm saying, what on earth have I achieved that's positive? All those things I devoted my life to, often believing them to be good causes, were probably the exact opposite, because there was manipulation going on, or there was information that I'm missing. And I think you're feeling that way. You used to have very firm ideas, and these are being destroyed. And now your energy is one of being bold, being brave, being fearless, but maybe prone to jump into the wrong conclusions. And this screams at me sea theories. You know, if the knowledge that you thought you had, or your way of understanding things, has been shattered, it makes us all prone to sea theories, doesn't it? And, you know, I'd say that sea theories do always have a grain of truth in them, but then they go off in a direction where the conclusions are completely wrong. And I'm as bad at this as anyone, you know, largely because that I've been believed in has been completely shattered. So what can I hang on to? You know, I don't trust, and this is unlike you, I don't trust any authority now, because it seems to me all those authorities have been destroyed, corrupted, manipulated. But is there another explanation for how you feel now? And that is, you're on a truth-seeking mission. It could well be that. It could be that you're going out on a mission to understand things. And that makes more sense as an explanation. It's not unrelated to my idea of sea theories. But maybe I shouldn't be too cruel on what it is that you're actually doing here. In the future we have justice. Could even be legal justice. Is this in your favour or against you? I very much think that it's in your favour. I might be wrong, but you know, I just absolutely get the feeling that this is justice in your favour. And whatever wrongs may have occurred to you, you're going to be rewarded for your losses. Is it karmic? Well, it isn't quite the right card and energy for it being karmic, but recently there's been a mix of that sort of karmic justice and that physical justice. It should be apparent that we've been manipulated, we've been woefully lied to by those who call ourselves our betters. And the longer this goes on, the more they're appearing like children, you know, in the way they try and cover up their misdoings. And slowly justice is coming, real justice is coming. I'm not certain they'll all receive that justice. They'll all receive karmic judgment, don't get me wrong. But slowly there is actual justice coming for many. I think that justice only creates more confusion because it just removes people. And what do we put in their place? And maybe that's what's playing on your mind, I don't know. And one reason why it could be physical justice is if we interpret the energy of this Tower card, which leads to the outcome, as being physical destruction of something that you care about, then it looks like you will get justice as a result. Is it physical? Have you actually encountered a loss? I mean, the Tower does mean that you've built your house on unfirm foundations, and that it was a necessary thing to happen. So could it be that it's not physical, that it is psychological, it is about this sort of knowledge or information that you're seeking? That feels a much more persuasive answer to me. But I think we need some clarity on it. Yeah, I'm going to choose clarity on this card later. But I think it's the destruction of ideas, destruction of your values, destruction of the belief system. And it was probably very necessary. Now, what would change things? And as I don't necessarily see the outcome as bad, in fact it's quite good in most respects, then I don't know if you need to change it. But what would change things is you embracing the divine feminine. Yes. You looking for more psychological explanations of what is going on, rather than materialistic explanations? Are you looking for explanations that are based more on nurturing, on love, on appreciation of beauty? Following your heart more than your head. Yes. You see, you've been seeking answers, logical answers. And maybe there aren't logical answers. Now, I did mention before that those who've abused, manipulated and lied to us feel like children to me. And maybe it's you coming to this same conclusion. Those who call ourselves our betters, our leaders, seem deeply psychologically disturbed. And if you remember your time at your very first school, it all feels very playgroundish. And there were certain people in that playground, certain children, were somewhat psychologically disturbed, and we all knew to give them a wide berth. And I think it's that realisation that would change everything. And not that the outcome's bad, but what I think it's saying is it could be better. And as I say, I don't see the outcome as necessarily bad. It's multiple blessings, probably material blessings. So it's almost as though you've had to have this tower movement. Is it just psychological? Maybe it is, that you need this tower movement to free yourself, to be able to receive these blessings, that the tower was an obstacle, if you like. But the other interpretation is that she's by herself. I wonder if it's saying that you need to step out of line in your thinking and your beliefs. I was, during the health crisis, I was very dubious about, everything, to be perfectly honest. And I was called a C theorist and an anti-V, and I go to great lengths to be anything but. But it hurt me. It hurt me that nobody was prepared to listen to my concerns, listen to me saying, I'm not stupid. I've lectured at some of the best universities in the world. And I'm listening to some of the best experts in the world on a variety of topics, and my conclusion is there's something very wrong going on here. And yet it was enough to simply label me a C theorist and an anti-V. And when I was in the UK, I used to have my flu shots every year, so there was no credibility in these insults, and that's all they were. But I did feel very much on my own. We've got to get clarity on this tower. What's going on with this tower? First card we have is a card of strength. So you're strong enough to deal with it, and certainly that's the feeling I get from looking at the overall spread. Secondly, there's the card of deception. Now, if we are talking of ideas, then that's very interesting. Finally, we have a card that could be poverty. So if it is physical, then maybe you lose money. But as I say, I think you're going to get it back. And there's quite a few indications that it could be about loss of money. But could it simply be about you feeling alone in your ideas? Let's look at these individually. Now remember, we're clarifying this tower moment, sudden and abrupt ending to something. Could be physical, could be about ideas. But whatever it is, we're being told that you're strong enough to deal with it. So you're strong enough, if it's physical, you're strong enough to get through it, you know how to get through it. And if it's psychological or intellectual, shall we say, then you are strong enough to revise your views, you're strong enough to cope with this. So this is a wonderful reassurance, and I certainly got that impression as I've been going through the spread. The next card of clarity on this tower moment is an energy of deception. Is this a physical tower? Because the next card does suggest maybe a loss of money. So are you deceived in terms of money? It doesn't stop. This could be the interplay of the sort of intellectual, psychological and the physical. Maybe you've invested in something and you're finding that you've been deceived on it. Let's face it, you know, well, in my opinion, there are more scams out there, not just in terms of investment, but, you know, in terms of almost every product and service we buy, than there are legitimate products, you know, or certainly they're easier to find. So is that what this is about? Or is it the realisation that we've been manipulated and lied to? Now, I'll just give you a brief sort of personal explanation. I was with the Royal Bank of Scotland for some 35 years. Now, when I moved to Indonesia, I spotted that rather than open an offshore account, I could simply keep my existing bank account open. Why did I conclude that? Well, it's very difficult to open a bank account these days, you know. So why rock the boat? I'd been with them 35 years. Now, I had all sorts of problems with them. But anyway, eventually they closed my account. Now it had, I mean, okay, maybe not in Western terms now, but in Indonesian terms, it had quite a lot of money in it when they closed it. And it was about to get a lot more. I still haven't got that lot more yet, but, you know, the account has been closed. So if we believe banks about how they make money, then it was a completely illogical decision. And it's that sort of thing. It's the realisation that these values we've held all our lives are based on an unsolid foundation. You know, the tower, it's not a good foundation. No, we were wrong about how banks make money. We were wrong about how they wanted us to behave. We were wrong about everything, you know. So is it that? Well, it could be both, couldn't it? And the final card of clarification is one I'd normally associate with poverty. So was this a financial scam that you fell for? It's possible. It's possible. Remember that 9 of Pentacles suggests monetary blessings, so it could be about money. But the other meaning of this card is sort of no mates, feeling of being on your own. And if we're talking about sort of an intellectual challenge, then it could mean that you're feeling very much vulnerable on your own. And it could also be about a poverty of ideas, that you simply don't have the framework to really understand what's going on. And of course, that Empress card, that was about you embracing a very different way of seeing things, much more psychological. So it could be that. I don't think we need to get to the bottom of whether this is physical or intellectual, because it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to summarise for you now. Libra, this reading is definitely a very psychological reading. I think it's about your ideas being challenged and you coming to very new ways of seeing the world. A subplot in it could be that you lose some money, but that might not even happen. It could simply be about ideas. It could be that you lose some money. Either way, I want to reassure you that I think this is a very good reading. It's a very good reading. It's not fortune telling, you know, it's about energies impacting on your psychology. But things could be even better, and you have free will, so you have the ability to follow the positive energies even more positive energies that I can see in it. You certainly in the past felt that you had a good grip on what was going on in the world. Indeed, people would come to you for advice because of, I think you were learned and you'd also got great experience. But that's been severely shaken. And you're looking for different answers, different ways of seeing things, different ways of seeing the world. You know, maybe you're seeking new information, but I think what you've not spotted is that your whole logical way of thinking isn't going to provide you with the answers, and that you need to move to a completely different paradigm. And this sort of shaky foundation of sort of enlightenment logic, if you like, that you're using is going to be torn down for you, and you're going to be forced to reappraise things. And as a result of that reappraisal, you'll get multiple blessings, but you might feel now like, whereas you were someone that people came to for advice in the past, you're now something of a loner. Whatever loss, if there is a physical loss, there is going to be justice in your favour, so don't worry about it. But I think what would really change the paradigm is you seeing things much more psychologically, seeing things much more from your heart, rather than looking for logical answers. Understanding these things that are completely baffling you because there doesn't seem to be a logic in them, by looking at the psychology, maybe even psychological problems of those making decisions or taking actions. And I think that's what you need to look to, Libra.